So the kind folks over at Well Go USA Entertainment ended up sending me an early screener for one of their brand new films coming out called Dongji Rescue, which is set in October of 1942 during World War II, and it dramatizes the real-life sinking of the Japanese transport ship Lisbon Maru, which was tragically trapping hundreds of British POWs. Amid the chaos and collapse, fishermen from the Dongji Island risk everything to save more than 300 prisoners, and unfortunately, this is a heroic act that has largely been overlooked in wartime narratives. And yeah, going into this film, I really didn't know anything about this story as far as the real life story, but after watching it, it had me intrigued to go and check out what the film was actually all about. And just in general, when it comes down to quick thoughts here on the film, it's incredibly well made. You have a great sense of practical effects and locations used, sets and real actual moments that are shot in the ocean with real boats. While the film does utilize some CGI at times that was a little bit distracting, most notably some CGI blood, it's ultimately very well acted as well. I thought the entire cast here was really strong and ultimately kept me engaged from beginning to end, outside of a couple of moments that I thought were a little bit slow, that I thought dragged the pacing down in a few moments. But ultimately, by the time I got to the end of it, I definitely thought this was one of the best foreign films that I've seen this year, without a doubt. I thought that the characters were really well realized, though on the flip side of that positive, I will say that at times I do feel like the film could have really benefited from a little bit more characterization, because as the movie plays out and you start to lose characters start to die off and it starts to become a higher stakes film, there were characters that were abruptly killed off that I think are some of the more likable characters, which in turn also kind of pushes our characters to keep on the journey that they're currently on. But as a story, I think sometimes kind of undercut the ability for those characters to be handled a little bit better. And then the characters that we focus on the latter half of the film, I don't necessarily feel like all of them were as realized or as well handled as the characters we had in the earlier part of the film. But nonetheless, you have here a really solid action adventure film that has a great story of heroism at the center of it, and more than anything, it is the underdog story that I think a lot of people can really relate to. And it's also a cool, different kind of World War II film. We've seen so many films set in that era, and I don't think I've ever seen one quite like this.